Good afternoon, Dr. Jones and fellow classmates. My name is Shelby Widgeon. When you think of topics with interesting backstories, does women's fashion ever come to mind? I am here today to inform you about the history of women's fashion. I chose this topic because fashion is one of my favorite forms of expression. In this speech, I'll be talking about the history of pants, swimwear, and heels. This information I'm going to share with you comes from these three sources. The first is an article by Molly Steckler titled, From Bloomers to Pantsuits, A Brief History of Women's Dress Reform, which was printed in the Saturday Evening Post magazine on February 12, 2018. The second is an article by Olivia Goldhill titled, It's Enlightenment's Philosophy's Fault That Women Wear High Heels Instead of Men, which was printed in the Quartz magazine on July 1st, 2018. The third is an article by Liz T. titled, The Evolution of Women's Swimwear from the 1700s to Today, which was printed in the Glitz, Glam, and Rebellion magazine on June 8th, 2020. I would first like to talk about the history between women and pants. Women wearing pants was not always socially acceptable. According to my references, the women's dress reform started in the mid-1800s when women got tired of wearing restrictive clothing. Before the reform, women did not dress for functionality. Women often wore clothing pieces that would help accentuate their figures. My references indicated that the usual outfit was either a dress or skirt with a steel hoop and petticoats placed underneath and a skin-tight corset to top it off. Here is a photo of what that everyday outfit looks like. In this picture right here, a woman had just got her steel hoop placed on. The photo beside it is afterwards when she's fully dressed. The steel hoop makes the skirt of the dress fuller and rounder. It is safe to say that it was extremely hard to move in this attire and made everyday tasks such as chores or even sitting down difficult. According to my references, Elizabeth Smith Taylor was one of the first women in the United States to wear bloomers, or what we call them, pants. Here is a photo of what the bloomer pants looks like. Bloomer pants were usually worn under knee-length dresses. Women that were encouraged by Taylor's bravery also started to wear pants out in public. Unfortunately, since pants were not seen as something ladylike, women were often publicly shamed and harassed, and that led to the end of the bloomer pants trend. Years passed and a designer released the harem pants. Here is a photo of what the harem pants looks like. They released these pants to help fight for the right for women to wear pants. However, these pants received a lot of backlash. Many labeled these pants as too inappropriate for the average woman to wear. My sources suggest that during the 1960s, pants finally became acceptable for women to wear. During this era, youth rebellion was big and fashion was becoming more unisex. Here is an example of what a 1960s woman's fashion catalog looked like after pants became the norm. Pants becoming acceptable to wear is simply a byproduct of this era. Now I would like to talk about women's swimwear. Women's swimwear has evolved over the years. During the 18th century, swimwear for women were known as bathing gowns. Here's a photo of what the bathing gown looked like. According to my references, the bathing gown was made out of wool or flannel, and it is described to be long, loose, and comfortable. Since modesty was key, many women sewed small lead weights at the bottom of the hem to prevent the gown from rising up. By the mid-1800s, there was a shift. Bathing gowns with trousers worn underneath began to shorten. My references indicated that women started wearing a swimsuit called the bloomer suit. Here is a photo of what the bloomer suit looked like. The bloomer suit consisted of a short-sleeved tunic, knee-length shorts, and stockings were usually worn underneath to hide the leg area. Due to the women's swimming events being added to the Olympics in 1912, there became a demand for functional swimwear for women. Here is what swimwear looked like for women during the Olympics. This led to a significant change in swimwear. Women were no longer wearing stockings underneath their swim shorts, and swim shirts became sleeveless. According to my references, the two-piece swimsuit was created in the 1940s due to a wartime shortage of fabric. Here is a photo of what the two-piece suit looked like. The two-piece suit was the first swimsuit to show midriff. My sources suggest that the first ever bikini was created in 1946 by French designer Louis Reard. Here's a photo of what the first bikini looks like. The bikini was considered so revealing that he had to have nude casino dancer Michelini Bernardini model it because nobody else would. Finally, I would like to talk about heels. Heels were not originally worn by women. According to my references, heels were worn by male soldiers while horseback riding because the heel helped them stay in their stirrups. My references indicated that during the 17th century, it became more common to see men outside of soldiers wearing heels, specifically the aristocrat European men. Heels had become a sign of high status and wealth. My sources suggest that women also started to wear heels because there was a trend for women to take sartorial risks and borrow out of men's wardrobe. According to my references, by the end of the 17th century, the Enlightenment philosophy put an end to all men wearing heels. This philosophy highlighted rationality, practicality, and put emphasis on the differences between men and women. These ideas portrayed women as irrational and impractical while portraying men as the opposite. Fashion became a way of expressing those differences. Men stopped wearing heels and adopted more practical shoes. Heels were now seen as less practical and quickly became associated with women. My sources suggest by the 19th century, heels had become a symbol of femininity. Okay, is there anyone that has any questions? No? Okay. Many popular fashion pieces, such as pants, swimwear, and heels, were not considered the norm a few decades ago. These pieces have changed over time, but the history behind them is forever. Thank you.